Hello and welcome to the Two Ace Podcast, the podcast designed to help you manifest your Two Ace mindset. My name is Josh Brooks and my one focus is success through the art of discipline and flow. I hope you enjoy the episode. Now let's get right into it. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, or whatever time of day it is you are joining me. I hope you're having a good one. And today I'm joined by Josh Flower, who is an advocate for living an optimized life, and he's a mindset lifestyle transformation coach, and he's also a B2B sales expert. So with that in mind, Josh, how are you doing?
Excellent, Josh. Very well. How about yourself?
I'm great. I am great. I'm looking forward to this episode, to be honest, because
Me too.
as we just said, I think there's a lot in store. So yeah, pleasure versus pain. That is the go-to for this one. So what are your initial thoughts as soon as I say pleasure versus pain? What comes to mind?
What comes to mind? Well, I don't know if people are going to want to hear this, but I'm going to say it anyway. So, I think life, the modern society really conditions us to pursue pleasure and comfort. And I think for good reason, right, Josh? I mean, if we think back to our ancestors and, the sort of life out in the wild, it's sort of a ruthless place. And so if we could find some comfort and some pleasure, that was a good thing. But we're at a point in our society today where there's just almost like an overdose of this. And it seems to be the thing that everyone is pursuing. And I think for a lot of people have maybe been distracted or forgotten that so much good in life comes through the painful processes that ultimately build us. And so that's what I'm an advocate for. And I've learned a lot of these lessons throughout my career and my life. So I'm very excited to chat with you about this today.
Cool. Yeah. So just there, you mentioned like sort of negative energy kind of thing. I like to think in terms of like yin and yang with energy. So there's good energy, but within that good energy, there's a part of negative energy, and within negative energy, there's always that good energy. And part of me thinks that the negative energy is actually, or can have the potential to be more powerful than positive energy because it can spark change. Mm-hmm. So when you're not feeling the greatest, if you have that spark within you where you're like, wait, I'm indulging in this negativity, what's going on? Like, let's change. So I know you had sort of like a transformation over the past year or so, and you mentioned
Yes.
how you're quite like overweight and you wanted to change. What was that like defining moment that you were like, you know what, I don't want any more of this stuff. Let's go to switch it.
Yeah, and you touch on a really important point for me, Josh, and that is that usually there needs to be a catalyst for change. And this is why I think we see a lot of issues with rich kids, right? Like when everything is there for you, it's really hard to get motivated to go out there and do something in the world. And so much of what motivates us is our dissatisfaction with whatever the situation may be, whether that's self-caused or not, right? It's like we're dissatisfied with something and that becomes the catalyst for change. And you can almost call that like a negative. We're interpreting it like a negative, right? I'm not happy with the state of my body, or I'm not happy with the state of my bank account, or I'm not happy with my relationship, or whatever the case may be. Now I've got to go and do something about that. And so that's what happened to me. And just so that your audience knows, I'm 50 years old. So I've been spinning around the world quite a bit. And I think like most people my age, I've gone through different phases of being in decent condition and then in poor condition. But I found myself at 49 really out of shape. I've been dealing with a back issue for many years. I herniated 2 discs as a younger man, about 23 years old, and it never really healed properly. So I dealt with chronic pain and related suffering with this injury for close to 3 decades. And frankly, when you're dealing with that, it's easy to throw in the towel at different phases. And so for me, I hadn't worked out in many years, and I just caught a glimpse of myself in the mirror, and I thought, there's that catalyst for change. I'm going to have to do something about this. And it coincided with my back getting to a point where I could actually work out consistently, which had not been the case for many years. And so I just seized that opportunity and I said, okay, my back's in decent enough shape for me to train. My body's in the sort of shape that I'm not satisfied in. So I'm going to do something about it. And if I don't do it now, I don't know when I'm going to do it, being at my age and what I've gone through with my back. And so that's what prompted the change in a nutshell.
Nice. Yeah. So the mirror was literally your reflection of yourself, and you managed to pursue it from there. So
Mm-hmm.
basically, on that point of mirror of reflection, how is that how you reflect? Like, how do you reflect upon your days? Because I know you're a morning person, and I love that. So do you reflect in the
Yes.
morning, or is that like an evening kind of thing?
No, that's a good question. And just so that you know, I haven't always been a morning person. You
Yeah, I
know,
bet.
I think for a lot of people, I don't know about you, but for me, I used to be a night person. I like to go out at night. I like to pursue the various pleasures that through my own life experience I've realized don't actually give us that satisfaction that we're looking for. And so believe me, and I'll say this to anyone listening, I've tried through comfort and pleasure seeking to find the satisfaction that I thought would bring me peace. And it's just a never ending pursuit. No matter how many times you go out, no matter how many experiences you have, no matter how many times you get drunk or wasted or whatever, the urge doesn't go away. What ends up happening is you realize that I'm not finding satisfaction here and something has to change. So for me, I switched from being a night person to a morning person when I made the decision to start focusing on building myself. I thought, let me get away from pursuing pleasure and comfort, and instead let me do whatever is going to be required to show myself respect and develop self love. And I realized that that was building myself. And so I took away the time that I was wasting in the evenings and decided to invest that into myself in the morning. And so to answer your question, I start my day with reflection. So I wake up very early. My alarm goes off at 4:20 every morning, and I take the first 10 to 15 minutes of the day to do a quiet reflection. And I do something called the regret reflection that I really love, and I would encourage anyone to just try this in the morning. Just ask yourself, what do I regret from yesterday? And the answers will just flood in. Like, the ways that you're, not carrying yourself properly. And so that extra food that you ate, or the workout that you skipped, or the way that you talked to a family member or a colleague, those will just pop into your head, and those become the guidelines for today. These are the things I'm going to try and improve on today. And so that's when I do my reflection, Josh, is in the morning. But of course, I think the more advanced we get at this, you want to be reflecting at all times. And ideally, you want to even be reflecting before you make a decision. You're encountered with a chance to, eat a piece of pizza or something. And it's like, let me think what future me is going to think about this decision. And then
Yeah.
hopefully you're reflecting in that moment,
Yeah, that's super. Yeah, waking up so early. There was a period of time in winter just gone. I was waking up at 4:30 every day.
Oof, yeah.
Yeah, it's you beat me by 10 minutes there. But yeah, honestly, I saw so much, just like drastic change in that time, and it was so good. I'd do the
But
reflection in the morning.
you do. Okay, good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, now I wake up at about 6. Sort of life's
Okay.
kind of gotten in the way a bit, but when I move back to uni, I'll be striving for 4:30 again, because on it, yeah,
Well,
it's so good. Like
but you know what? Sorry, go ahead.
yeah, I'm not a morning person either, but yeah, I sort of like forced myself to do it because it was so uncomfortable. Like uncomfortable, I believe uncomfortability inspires productivity. So by being uncomfortable
I
and
like that.
through pain and through struggling, you can sort of inspire yourself to be like, wait, I can actually push myself way further than I thought. And you sort of just get into the habit of enduring uncomfortability, and just like reaping the rewards of it. Is yeah.
Well, I couldn't agree more. And I think that for a younger person, it's good to try different things and not feel like the first thing that you've tried is the way that you've got to be. I think there's a feeling out process when you're a younger person. Try some different things and see what works for you. But I agree with so many things that you just said. I think doing difficult things from the first decision of the day. And so it doesn't need to be, 1/2 4, but it can just be a time that is a little bit uncomfortable for you. So depending on what your cycle looks like, try waking up a little bit earlier than you think that you should, because it is difficult and it's challenging, but it does begin to weather you and strengthen you from that commitment. And then, as you said, you realize that by doing this consistently, um, you realize that it isn't all that difficult. Like what seemed so difficult in the beginning becomes easy over time through habit, really. And that's where I'm at now. Like the idea of waking up later than 20 past 4 is just seems like there's just no chance that I would do that. It's just, why would I? This is what I'm doing now and it works for me. So
Wow. So is it every single day for 4:20 you wake up?
yeah, I'm 7 days per week, and I'll tell you, this is another thing that I'd heard people talk about. In my former life, I thought that that was crazy. Like, why would you wake up so early on the weekends? But there is something about the power of momentum, and
Yeah.
there's also something about getting out of this Monday to Friday and weekend cycle that most people live their lives according to me. There's a negativity in that. Like each day is its own thing. Each day you should be prioritizing your health and wellness first thing in the morning. I think that should be everybody's number one priority when you wake up. Prioritize yourself first so that you can then take care of your responsibilities and the things that you aspire to do later in the day. But it's got to start with maintenance and showing yourself love and care first. And why not do that 7 days per week and then go on about your day? Um, Again, I think if you're a younger person, maybe you're going out a little bit, maybe you're doing some things. So that's a little bit different. But we see a lot of people in middle age, like my demographic, that still live that cycle. So I would tell young people, keep this in mind. Like the habits that you're developing now will be tougher to break as you move into adulthood and, not being a young adult. So you've got to think about that stuff. And yeah, treating the weekend like it's some sort of a playground and the week is when you do your work. I think there's inherent negativity in that. I'd be happy to expand upon that, but yeah, that's what I think.
Yeah, please do, because waking up so early 7 days a week must be draining to some extent. Like, do you not get burnt out? Like, how does that sort of balance itself out?
Yeah, fair question. And no, I find that I don't get burnt out because one thing that I realized was I needed less sleep than I thought. Always, we all hear that you should get 8 hours of sleep per night. And I'm not here to argue against the sleep scientists by any means. But what I realized that by adjusting that to about 6.5 hours of sleep, 6 hours of sleep per night, what I find is when it's time for bed, I fall asleep immediately and I sleep solidly right through the night. And I wake up feeling refreshed. Is it a challenge? Yes, when the alarm first goes off, but I'm able to walk through it. Sometimes on the weekend, Josh, like I'll take a short nap to sort of supplement things in the afternoon. But overall, no, I don't feel burnout. If I'm getting tired, I just go to bed earlier.
Nice.
And that's really the hack, right? If I'm feeling really tired, I'll just go to bed earlier, top up on my sleep that way. So it works for me. But the reason that 7 days I think is the method is because, again, I think for a lot of people they're doing work that they don't necessarily enjoy. So Monday to Friday is this period of time where they do a lot of things that they don't enjoy, and then the weekend is the time where they don't have to do the things that they don't enjoy. And so, but I think we're framing things incorrectly, and I think all work gets lumped into this negative category of being negative, right? We were talking about negatives and positives at the beginning of the call. I think I would encourage people to reframe the concept of work. Work is a good thing. Work is something that all biological life does to survive. And work is how you get results in this life. It's not through leisure, it's through the work that you're actually going to do. If you're not happy with the job that you're doing, you can change that and you should change that. We're living in 2024. There's infinite opportunities out there if you're willing to be creative and really lean into it. But keep changing your work until you find something that's satisfying for you, and reframe the work you need to do on yourself, on your body, on your life as something that's positive. And hopefully you can change this dynamic of Monday to Friday is one thing, Saturday and Sunday are another thing. For me, that's what has really facilitated me maintaining the same cycle 7 days per week is reframing in that way.
Nice, yeah, yeah, definitely. Everything is a cycle, so it's important to make sure that everything is in that balance, and you can sort of create your own balance with that. But for someone that sort of it is in a 9 to 5, and then they've got Saturday Sunday off, how would you sort of adjust? Sort of like let's say you started doing a 9 to 5, and you had the weekends off. How would you
Yeah.
adjust your like sleep wake cycle to do sort of that kind of thing?
Yeah. So I'll tell you. So I still work. Just so that everybody knows, I'm a professional salesperson. I sell software and services, big ticket to businesses, and I've been in sales for 24 years. So I'm very good at it. I've won all sorts of awards within my particular industry, and I make a very, very healthy income doing this. And so I got to the point around age 50 where it was, I could just continue to be in sales, make great money, and continue doing this for the rest of my career. But I really had a calling to try and help people. And so I actually do both now. So I still work a 9 to 5, and then I spend almost all my free time promoting my business, coaching my clients. So this is happening in the evenings, this is happening on the weekends. And so, in a sense, I am going through a transitionary phase. At some point, maybe I'll walk away from sales, but I'm also enjoying having all of this work to do. So, for me, there really is no weekend. It's, just more job oriented Monday to Friday, and then more coaching business oriented on the weekends. And so that's part of it. I maintain the same schedule for that reason. I wake up, I follow the same morning routine 7 days per week, and then I just focus on my business on the weekends. So I'd say for a regular person that's out there, I think it would be fine to just adjust your wake up time. Like if you want to do certain things on the weekend, if that's a time where you connect with friends and whatnot, go for it. If your regular wake up time is 6 a.m., maybe you want to push that to 7:30 a.m. on the weekends. That's fine. But here's the thing, Josh. Okay, a big component of what I teach in my coaching practice is that it's important to give up vices. So this is drinking, drug use, pornography, bad food, all the things that are pleasurable, but ultimately don't serve our greater purpose, which is to
Yeah.
build ourselves. And so I would just have your listeners reflect on, do you need that extra time in the evenings on the weekend so you can get up to mischief at the club or down around the pub or that sort of thing? Because if so, don't wake up later on the weekends. Skip those things, go to bed on time, and then wake up at the same time on the weekends, because that's the cycle I see most people, including middle-aged and older people, is they stick to their good habits during the week and then they let it all go on the weekend, and that becomes a really negative cycle where they don't make progress on the things that they want to.
Yeah, it's kind of like a 2 step forward, 1 step back kind of cycle, as you put it.
Big time, big time.
Yeah, I like how you can just do it. Like you sounds so effective. Your way of just doing it. You just wake up and you do the work and you go to sleep. Yeah, it sounds
Well,
super. Yeah,
let me sort of give you a little bit of a look into my mind, okay? So, and again, keep something in mind. I've really tried to satisfy myself in all of the worldly ways. I truly have. And so I've lived through that. And I think for a lot of your listeners, particularly the younger ones, they may need to go through that process themselves of realization, through their own experience, that this is not where the satisfaction is going to come from. What I have learned in my life is that we all have two purposes. And if you want to be happy, you need to live a purpose driven life versus a pleasure driven life. The purpose driven life is also painful, Josh, unfortunately. So we
yeah,
talked about that sort of as the theme of this conversation, is it's pain over pleasure. And the primary purpose that we all have is to build ourselves into the best version of ourselves. So you have that purpose, I have that purpose, because if you can imagine, as a global community, we're all links in a chain, right? We're a cooperative species. We're all a part of the web of life. And so we all have this little responsibility, which is our own lives. And so your first priority is to solve your own issues and fix your own life. Build massive self love and self trust through doing the things that build you. Once you've done that to a sufficient level, your secondary purpose will reveal itself to you. So that may be helping others, it may be a certain cause, it may be starting a business or what have you. But I think in this society, we're taught to try and find that secondary purpose while neglecting the primary, which is to love and build trust within ourselves. And so this is why I do it, Josh, is because I've figured this out, that this is my purpose. And so it makes it easy. When I'm thinking about horsing around at night, I know my purpose is to build myself. And I do that first thing in the morning through my reflection process, through going to the gym. And so I would rather skip out on the pleasure seeking, go to bed and wake up and get to work in the morning because I'm aligned with that purpose. Does that make sense, the way that I've
Yeah,
described it?
yeah, it does. I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, like sort of the whole, like I feel like a lot of people have it in their heads, like the generic pursuit of life is you're pursuing pleasure and you're trying to get away from pain. But what we're saying is it's the opposite. You should get away from the pleasure and seek pain, because more often than not, if you're experiencing pain and uncomfortability, you're more aligned with your purpose. Because that the harder thing usually is the better thing. You know, just like pursuing purpose, pursuing pleasure is usually the easy thing to do. And like you said, you know, when you're at night and when you're at night and you're trying to resist the temptations, you know, you just need to make sure that voice in the back of your head to say no. You know, purpose over pleasure, pain over pleasure. Like that is the direction you should head in. And there's a quote here that I found that you said actually in the episode I listened to, and you said that the hardest thing to do as a human being is to change, and I really love that because it literally just emphasizes like what we're saying right now. So you know, change is hard, pain and growth are painful, but they are necessary for us to evolve.
You've nailed it. And it's funny you should say this because I just posted on Instagram yesterday, and the title of the post is "Pain Equals Growth." And
Oh
it's
wow.
and it's interesting because this is something that I've observed in the weight room, right? And you'd mentioned my physique before. For anyone that's interested, go to my Instagram, and I'm sure we'll share the tag, within the episode. And you'll see how I looked a year ago and how I look today. And I learned that it's through going through the pain, and the further I could get into suffering in the weight room, the faster I made progress. And so we're not saying it in a sort of masochistic way to people that you just need to pursue pain, and avoid all pleasure. Not at all. But the things that are actually going to lead to tangible satisfaction in your life are going to be very uncomfortable and possibly painful at first. But these experiences or these feelings will get normalized over time. So another painful thing that I do every morning is I take a cold shower, and it's a bit cliche. A lot of people do this now, but there's health benefits to it, yes, but to me it's a psychological benefit of
Yeah, I
knowing,
agree.
yeah, that I want to avoid an uncomfortable situation, and so I must not avoid it, and that is going to condition me in a really positive way. So that's why I do it. It
Yeah, I'm
sounds
the
like you
same.
might have that habit as well. Yeah.
Yeah, I've got a cold bath. I got it for Christmas.
Oh, good
So
for you.
I get in there when I can. It's kind of warmed up a little bit now, but in the winter it was like 4 degrees, which was insane. So that was a big, waking up and getting in that was I obviously didn't want to do it at all, but that's the whole point, the psychological sort of win. That like you just wake up and win instantly because you're doing something you don't want to do, and like the growth that I saw from that was great.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, it's
yeah.
incredible. And I learned there was another great teacher for me this year. So I was getting into shape last year, starting to work out, but then in January I decided to go on a weight cut to strip all the fat off my frame to really see what I was working with from a musculature perspective. And Of course, going through a weight cut, which involves living in a calorie deficit, is an uncomfortable thing. Anyone that's dieted knows that it's a challenging thing. But you transcend, you get to this point where you really get into that feeling of suffering, and you almost wear it like a badge of honor, and you oddly derive some pleasure from it, from sticking to the plan and doing the difficult thing. It actually brings you pleasure. And if that's what I could say to people is, it's not going to be pleasure in the traditional sense where it's like you press a button, right? Have a drink and feel pleasure, smoke a joint and feel pleasure, have a sexual experience and feel pleasure. It's more based on the internal strength that you build by going through a difficult thing that thankfully has a really beautiful byproduct, which is losing fat, building muscle, whatever that sacrificial thing that you're doing. It's giving you a long-term reward, unlike drinking alcohol or smoking weed, right? Where there's actually a long-term downside to that. It's going to damage your health. This gives you a benefit, but eventually you find this satisfaction in that suffering. And so it's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing, like I'm sure there were many days you didn't want to get into that ice bath, but how does it feel when you're the kind of person that can do that consistently?
Oh, dude, I would get out and I would be like ridiculously like out of this world. I would feel like so high. I was like
Yeah.
getting out of this ice bath. Sometimes I did it for like 5 minutes or more, and
Oh,
yeah, and yeah, I just felt so just ecstatic and so like ready to
alive.
attack the day. Yeah, it was beautiful.
Yeah. And so much confidence in yourself as well. And that's what I really want people to know, is that the key to achieving everything that you want in this life is showing yourself love and building trust in yourself.
Definitely.
Like, you're the person that is going to achieve everything. You're the person that is also the limiting factor in the things in your life right now that are not where you want them. And so you need to go on a massive offensive of showing yourself love. This means doing all the things that build you but are difficult, and building trust, meaning if you say you're going to do an ice bath this morning, you've got to follow through and do that ice bath, so that you start to believe yourself that when I say that I'm going to do something, I get it done. That's the kind of person I am. Those two things in combination, massive self-love plus self-trust, and the ability to follow through on everything that you're supposed to do, that's what's going to lead you to the promised land. And people,
Definitely.
by the way, think the promised land is getting outcomes. Yeah, that's nice. It's nice to get outcomes, get nice toys, get nice, whatever the thing is that you're looking for. But the real reward is the admiration and respect and pride you have in yourself, where you look around and go, great, I have a cool car, I have this, but it's you. You're the one that you're proud of. And that's priceless. That cannot be purchased, that cannot be acquired except through this process that I teach.
Yeah, yeah, it's great. It's stoic in a way, isn't it? It's, I
Yes,
noticed
sir.
on your Instagram you had a quote by Seneca. I actually can't remember it off the top of my head, but do you remember what it was?
Well, you know what? So every morning, like we said, I post all day long about my program so people can see what it looks like. And I always share a stoic quote with my second post of the day, because that's when I do my reflection. I start by reading something positive, and then I go in and I reflect on the previous day. And so I always share different quotes. But I did have one by Seneca this morning. Is that the
Yeah,
one that you're referring to?
yeah, yeah. It must have been this morning. Yeah,
Yeah, here I can tell you. I can tell you because and so what I do is I share the post, and then I also share my thoughts. So I
oh,
think it was
nice.
apply yourself to thinking through difficulties.
Yeah, that's it.
And that's what that one is for me, is that we all have problems, right? Like a good way to think about life is all that life is problems. It's just problems, and that you have to solve on a daily basis. And no matter what you achieve, and no matter how perfect you set everything up and execute, doesn't matter. There's going to be more problems that are coming your way tomorrow, that you can't even predict. So we have to get into this mindset of accepting the problems, not wishing them away, and then determining, like, how are we going to deal with these problems? Well, I can tell you that the best way for everybody to deal with their problems is to become the best version of themselves. So make that your priority. Again, that's your primary purpose. Do that. So part of that is investing the time. If you've got problems in front of you, I think what a lot of people do is they'll distract themselves, or they'll be like an ostrich, right? They put their head in the sand and not pay attention to what's happening, or kick that can down the road, or be distracted, right? Like, let me look at my phone and pretend that that's not happening. But what you really want to do is just face the problem and actually think about it. And then the best way to think about it is to clear your mind of the stress associated with it. This is why I recommend a morning workout. So you wake up in the morning, you do some quiet reflection. As the morning proceeds, your problems will begin to pop into your head. But you've got to reflect and think about those problems. But the best way to do that is to go to the gym, just crush a workout, just get all the angst and stress out of your system so that you have that win. You're feeling amazing. Then think about your problems. And I promise you're going to have clarity. You're going to have a stoic perspective that you're going to bring into that session. You're going to get easier answers. Plus, you're going to have faith that, oh, here's the answer and I can execute on it because I've already had a great morning. So that's the secret to overcoming your problems. Do the workout first, then think about your problems.
Yeah, definitely. I think doing reading something stoic and then doing a workout, it just sounds like a recipe for just being like ready for the day. Like I'm reading Marcus Aurelius Meditations at the moment. So it's beautiful. Every morning I read one passage. So I read it as soon as I wake up, and then I read it like 2 or 3 more times in the day, like midday and then before I go to bed. And I meditate on that throughout the day, because I initially started reading the book and I would read a few at a time. I was like, nah, this isn't the way to read it, surely. So then, and then I changed to reading one passage a day. And that is similar to the Seneca one. Always be ready to think but
yeah, I can't read. They always have such an artistic way of explaining.
Yeah.
Apply yourself to thinking through difficulties.
Apply yourself to thinking through difficulties. And I feel like going to the gym straight after hearing that or reading that is actually acting it out. Because while you're lifting those weights, that's like a metaphorical difficulty, and you're thinking through it, and you've just been able to pursue, like, oh, I only need to do like 6 more reps. Oh wait, I've just done 6 reps. Easy. I can do 6 more.
Well, and you know what else? I mentioned it in my commentary on that quote this morning, is that there's actually, and so this is a tip I'd suggest for anyone. When you're feeling stressed, when you're feeling like a low vibration or a lower frequency, the easiest way to get through this, and I think most people think to themselves, I've got to think my way through, and that quote would imply that, okay, I've got to think through this problem. Yes, you do. Ultimately, you're going to need to apply an intellectual angle to most of these problems. But when you find yourself in a lower frequency or you're struggling, do something physical. Do 50 push-ups, do 25 burpees, go for a walk, hop on your bicycle and go, do something like that, and just get the blood pumping, and then just come back to the problem. It never fails. It will change your mood. It will improve your mood. The mood that you bring into that problem resolution is going to have such an impact on how quickly you can come up with a plan and then believe in that plan. So anytime you're feeling low, people, just do a little bit of physical work. It doesn't need to be a full workout. It can be literally 5 minutes. And I promise you, it's going to give you a whole new perspective on whatever problem you're chewing on. Yeah. So it's both, Josh, it's both. Think through, absolutely, but use the physical as a secret ingredient to raise your frequency.
Yeah, definitely. And that is circling back to what the whole episode is about. Just doing that little bit of exercise to get through that thought process, to get through that low vibration. That's the pursuit of pain. The pursuit of pain, and feeling your muscle working, or whatever part of the body you're working, to feel that sort of struggle slightly, to feel the pain in that. You're noticing the growth already. And if you're stuck on something and you're thinking about something, like you said, eating a chocolate bar, it might make you feel happy in the moment. It might be quite pleasurable, but would it actually fix what's going on in your brain? Would it actually create a solution? More often than not, probably not. But Precisely. Doing the workout, pursuing pain, there's a way higher likelihood that you will actually figure that thing out. there's been so many times when I've been doing a workout or at the gym or on a run or wherever, and I might not be able to necessarily like state the issue, but there's like a
Yes.
subconscious like cog that just like clicks in it. It's like, whoa, that's the thing that was happening. I feel great now. And it's just from moving, just from pursuing some sort of pain.
That's incredible because you're right. Sometimes you can't articulate it, but you know you've had a watershed moment or a breakthrough in that moment that you're going to be able to bring in to whatever that problem is. And the thing is that, again, I encourage your audience to think in terms of really there's only two things that you're going to do, generally speaking, right? You're going to do difficult things that build you, or you're going to do easy things that either don't build you or worse, actually hurt you. And so you've just got to fall in love with the idea of doing things that are a bit more difficult, and that's sort of a word I use in place of pain, because it's not always pure pain, but it's usually the difficult thing, right? Like when you're sitting on the couch in a bad mood, to do 10 push-ups is more difficult than, as you said, to open the candy bar, right? So it's just like those are the little decisions throughout the day that you've just got to commit to. But part of it is reframing, again, this idea of work. Work is not a negative. Work is your salvation. Work is how all good things happen. And it's literally how life goes on, is through work. Like we need rest, yes. But this society has become far too obsessed with leisure and far too obsessed with pleasure. And so be the person that goes the other way. Yes, you're going to be a little bit unusual with your friends and family, but I promise you, it's a more satisfying way to live. Um, that's
Yeah,
been my experience.
but what would you? What's your like your optimum difficulty level? Because obviously, if something's too painful or something's too
Yes.
difficult, you're just gonna uh, burn out. You're gonna reach diminishing returns and be right back to square one again.
Yeah.
Like where's
Yes.
sort of the threshold of it's too difficult. I mean, it's difficult enough, but it's not too difficult. If you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, indeed. So let's start. Let me answer this question with my philosophy in the gym, because I think that that's a place. And I want to start by saying to everybody that anytime you're introducing any new habit into your life that requires effort, it is going to feel really difficult. So, just changing your eating habits or just introducing 4 workouts per week is going to feel almost impossible at first. And so, it's important that you recognize that there's about a 60, maybe a 90-day integration period that you're going to have to get through. But then when you get to the other side, it's going to become significantly easier. So that's, most people will drop off in the first 60 to 90 days. So if you can just persevere, it will get easier. So that's a promise. And then your pain tolerance will go up because you'll have the habit in place, and then you can focus on greater intensity. So that's where I'm at in the gym. I remember when my back was feeling better, I started by swinging kettlebells in my backyard, Josh, and every session was just like walking through quicksand to get the kettlebells outside and to actually do the workout. It was so
Yeah,
painful. But then I hit this inflection point where I thought, okay, this is easy now. I'm going to get into the gym and start working out there. And then my workouts just got more and more and more intense. So to answer your question, the level of pain that I'm prepared to go through in the gym is muscle failure. So that's how I work out. I do my exercises to failure, and um, failure is maximum pain. So for example, on the leg press, I'll go, sometimes I can get up to 34 or 35 reps, at almost the full stack. I'm not quite there yet. And by the end, it's terrible pain, and then it's pain for a minute afterwards where it's just like, oh, like it's just absolute pain. But I love it now. So that's what I tell people is you want to push yourself into a place of discomfort. Like certainly, like think about what the word pain means to you. It hurts, right? But just know that your tolerance is going to go up, and So just getting into that zone where something's a little bit painful, I think is good. And then just keep pushing yourself. For me, muscle failure is a good barometer because it literally means I can't do anymore because the muscle just stops working. I don't know about you. Like, what's your philosophy in the gym? Do you have a set number of sets that you do and reps, or do you like to push to failure as well?
Dude, I'm nowhere near as hardcore as you. I don't go to a complete muscle failure. Do you not get injured?
Well, this is
How you
good.
must have some pretty good recovery.
Well, so what I do is number one, I use the machines predominantly so that I don't it's very difficult to squat to failure, but to leg press to failure is something that
Yeah,
you can do. It's difficult to do dumbbells to failure, but using a shoulder press machine to failure, you can do it. And so I just stumbled upon this philosophy. It's called high intensity training, not to be confused with high intensity interval training. So this is like a strength training methodology, but you just do a single set of each exercise to absolute muscle failure. And the science that I've observed in my own body is that the further to failure you get, the more of the deep muscle fibers need to be recruited to continue doing the exercise. And so most people that train 3 sets, 10 reps per set will not get that close. So those deeper muscle fibers never get recruited. So they take a more volume-based approach, which can still work. There's plenty of people with great physiques that do it that way. But mine is less volume, much higher intensity,
right.
which kind of agrees with my personality a little bit more as well. Like I like, I'll take shorter bursts of pain versus long, agonizing, sort
Yeah,
of discomfort, I guess would be the way to say it.
yeah. Oh, yeah. Nice. Yeah. Anyway, to answer your question, my gym philosophy to say is, yeah. I initially when I was getting into the habit, I would set myself. This is the workout I'm doing today. I basically just did like my version of the push pull legs. So I
Yeah.
did on one day I did back and biceps, then chest and triceps, and then I'd do shoulders and core, and then I'd do legs. But I've kind of just sort of freestyled it. From after I got into the habit of working out, I just sort of freestyle now. Like I still sort of stick to the push pull legs kind of thing, but um, yeah, I initially did 10 reps, but I would pyramid. So I'd start off with like my first set of 10, I would do like 10 kg. And then next set of 10, I would do 12 and then 15 or whatever. I'd do it it was very relative to the day and what I was training and like how I was feeling and what time of day it was in, because I
Mm-hmm.
would always make sure that I'm feeling some sort of pain. Like like it's
Yep.
not easy. And let's say I'm doing like lat pull down or whatever, where you're on like a machine with a big pin. I
Yep.
would say, right, okay, I'm feeling 50 kg today. No, I'm not. 55. I'd always be like, right, whatever I'm feeling, I'd do it one more than that. So I was always pushing myself to be in the uncomfortable zone.
Yep.
Um, and like, let's say I did 10 reps and that was it. And I was like, oh, I can do more than that. I'll push or I'll do like a set where I'll try a 1 rep max and then just
Yep.
do like a drop set all the way down until I can't do any more. So I just
Very
wouldn't,
good.
yeah, I just wouldn't count. I'd be like, right, 80, whatever. I can't do a rep of that. 70, 2 reps. I can't do any more than that. 4, 6, whatever. My gym philosophy in a nutshell is to just move the muscle until, you feel it expand, basically.
Yeah.
You feel like you've done something that's, you're going to be proud of.
Well, and that's it. And in a way, that philosophy is very similar to mine, which is, I try and not use momentum and, when I'm doing the exercise. So to use your example of a lat pull down, I won't like thrust the weight down as quickly as possible. I take a more measured approach and
Yeah.
focus on the lats doing the work. And then I just exercise that muscle group slowly and methodically until it goes into discomfort and then pain and then to the point that I can't move the weight anymore, and then I stop. But it's exhausting. Like it's
Yeah.
at the end of these workouts, like I am spent. And I do each body part twice per week. So I take
Oh,
a
well.
72 to 96 hour break between body parts. So um that's how I do it. But like back to your original question about like how much pain is too much pain. I'd say for people that pain is an important thing to have, because pain does equal growth, right? Like we talked about the cold showers. We talk about there's a pain of taking your phone and putting it on the count or on the cupboard behind you and focusing on work that's far less interesting than Instagram or Facebook, right? There's pain in that. And so just conditioning yourself when you feel that pull to do the easy thing, to say, no, I'm going to stay in the discomfort of whatever I'm doing right now. That to me is the line. That's the barometer that people should seek, is don't give in at the first impulse. You know, it's like sort of like with food, you know, when you get that feeling of I'm going to have a cookie, resist. You know, from time to time, you can reward yourself and treat yourself and have the cookie, but you just want to make a habit of doing the hard thing and hanging out in that discomfort zone for a little longer than maybe your first instinct tells you to. So I don't know if that answers that question for you.
Yeah, definitely. And just to sort of add on to that, being able to, like, the ability to focus on just being uncomfortable. How do you find that? Because let's say, you know, you're like, right, okay, I'm going to do the thing that I just said I didn't want to do. I'm going to do it anyway, and now I'm doing the thing. I still don't want to do it, even though I'm doing it. At what point are you like, okay, yeah, wait, that is enough. I don't have to put myself through anymore because I'm going to die. Like, at what point? It kind of links to the other question I asked about the level of difficulty, but I guess it's
Yes.
more, yeah, like sort of how do you be like, you know, it's right, it's time. How do you call it?
Well, so I'll tell you, this is my thinking, okay? So, in order to get certain results, like, because if we think about it again, like back to how the conversation started, right? Catch a glimpse in the mirror, catch a glimpse of whatever, and realize I'm not happy with current state, whatever that is. There is a pathway to go from current state to desired state. And the steps that need to be taken are fairly non-negotiable. Like if you want to go from 40 pounds overweight to ripped, you're going to have to do certain things. And there's not a way to say, well, I'm only going to do half of those things and expect the same result. So the first step that I would say to people is, if you're looking to change something that's particularly difficult for you, find a coach or a mentor that can help you with understanding what does the pathway look like and can help you with accountability, because those are going to be your two biggest challenges: knowing for sure that I've got the right game plan, and then sticking to the game plan when times are difficult. So that's the first thing that I would say. The next thing I would say is, once you know that these are the steps that must be taken, you have to find a way to weather yourself to that discomfort, and find a new level. And I'm going to give you an example. So this is a non-gym related example, okay? So I've launched an online coaching practice where I help people with everything that I've learned, right? One of the requirements that I need to do is I need to reach out to new people all the time through Instagram, which is my platform of choice. So I've set some non-negotiable targets for myself. Every day I need to reach out to 30 new people and introduce myself. And every day I need to comment on 20 pieces of content that I find are inspiring or interesting or stimulate a response from me. And I have to share a comment, like that sort of thing, just to get into the arena a little bit and engage with other people. There are many days, Josh, where it's 9 p.m. and I'm tired and I'd like to go to bed because my alarm goes off at 4:20, but I'm not done my reach outs and I'm not done my comments yet. And so those are the moments that I may be sitting on the couch, I may be under a blanket, but I'm very uncomfortable because I don't want to do these things and I want to get to bed. But I lean into it because I've developed a relationship with myself where if I say I'm doing it, I'm doing it. And so I get the work done. And even if it has to happen at 9 p.m. So that's what I would say to people is, understand that if you want certain results in this world, they are going to require non-negotiable steps. Find someone to tell you what those non-negotiable steps are and to help you with holding yourself accountable until you learn how to do it on your own. And then you can take the training wheels off and then look at the next level up that you want. Hire another coach that's going to help you get to that next level, and so on and so forth. The best people in the world continue to work with coaches. You know, we've all heard this before. The top athletes, the top Premier League soccer players, the top NBA basketball players all have coaches and personal coaches for a reason, because they need help. And these are elite world class performers. So if they need help, the rest of us certainly need help.
Definitely. So, and you're sort of embodying the accountability side of things through your Instagram as well.
Yeah, that's the idea. Is what I want people, like, I don't expect anyone to just sign up with my coaching program, right? In fact, if people ask me, normally I tell them, go to my Instagram and like just check out how I'm living and see if you agree with it. Number one, see if you even like me, like see if you like the flavor of my posts and the things that I say. And then, when the time is right, when you're sufficiently motivated, drop me a message and let's get to working together and solving whatever your main problems are. But that's the idea, is go see how I'm living. You'll see someone that's living sober. You see someone that's living a very strict diet because I want certain results in my physique. You're going to see someone that wakes up every morning at the same time, goes to the gym. I always post videos of what I'm doing at the gym. And I'm sharing what I'm learning throughout the day. And one thing that I've really learned is that I used to think, I was a FOMO person, right? I need to go out and I need to go to this show and I need to do all of these things. And if I'm not doing them, then I'm missing out and my life is not as good. And what I've realized, no, just the job of building myself is so rewarding that I'm much more satisfied with a simple life. It's not to say I don't do things, socialize, go and visit people I love and go to events, but I don't have those in the same esteemed category as I had them before. Now it's more important that I stick to my diet. It's more important that I make sure that I go to the gym every day. You can get to this point. You can get to this point, if you're listening to this, where you prioritize your own health and wellness first, and you derive such satisfaction from that your life is complete. It's possible. Just trust me on this. It's possible.
Yeah, I trust you. And I think that is actually a really good point to wrap this up on, to be honest. That's okay with you.
100%. Yeah, this has been such a enjoyable conversation, Josh. And it's, I just love talking to people that are on this pathway, and realize that the pathway of building themselves is, it's the right way, and I when I look around, I just see so many people that are going down the wrong path of trying to find their satisfaction in another way. And I just tell everybody, you are the answer. It's you are the most important being in your life. So treat yourself that way and see what happens. See what happens. You're going to be blown away at how good life gets when you really prioritize you. And it's not selfish, because once you're taken care of, trust me, you're going to be of great service to the people in your life. And that's when things get really interesting.
Cool. Yeah, I really appreciate that. Thank you. And
Yeah.
I'm gonna press the button after you've said this. Would you be able to define success in just a few words?
Success is loving yourself and being proud of yourself, being content in just being yourself in this moment. That's what success is. Being content with you in this moment.
Thanks for that. Wow, what a session with Josh. Thank you very much for joining me on this. And that is our perspective of pursuing pain over pleasure, and the actual benefits that you can become more aligned with your purpose in pursuing that pain over pursuing that pleasure. I hope you understand that we don't literally mean trying to inflict pain on yourself every given moment that you can do and not doing things you enjoy, but rather we mean if you're in times of struggle or you're trying to figure something out, rather than doing the easy thing and distracting yourself, having that bar of chocolate, put yourself through some uncomfortable situation, because through being uncomfortable you learn about yourself and you can grow a lot more. So what we mean by pursuing pain is pursuing that uncomfortable and pursuing that level of growth, which allows you to reach your true potential and allows you to pursue your purpose. So as always, thank you for joining me. Thank you for this opportunity. remain consistent, achieve dreams. I've been your host, Josh. 2 Ace, 1 Focus.